Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Not Your Average Financial Podcast Live. I'm doing these on occasion when I find something really cool, crazy, weird, or unexpected in the news, which is basically every 15 minutes or so. So hopefully, as you're watching this, you're just as dumbfounded as me at what's going on in the world and world economy. So as we jump in, I just had to get this off my chest. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and it just seems to me that there's more reason now to talk about this than ever before. What am I talking about? I'm talking about artificial intelligence and basically us all getting dumber as a result. And specifically around financial planning and financial reasoning and critical thinking skills. So on my screen here, I'll share my screen if I can here. The article that really caught my attention today was this one from The Hill. The Hill says that ChatGPT can harm an individual's critical thinking over time, according to a research media lab at MIT. This says that it separated groups into folks using OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's search engine, and somebody else using nothing, the brain only group, as they say. And this says that the subjects who used ChatGPT over a few months had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. This to me says that we are outsourcing the most important part of your capacity to think as a human. Even with Google searches, sure, you're outsourcing at some level, but this brings it to a whole new level. And this concerns me for a lot of reasons, but what makes me most concerned is that it might impact your ability to outsource your financial plan, your thinking to a financial large language model. Might just be your undoing. And here's why. Recently, just I think yesterday, as I'm recording this, a one of the AI models, Grok, which is run by X AI and what was formerly called Twitter. Grok is a large language model that sources, interestingly, it sources, material from all the stuff that's fed into Grok, but also from, the language that's put out there on X, again, formerly known as Twitter. And again, it's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. And the overwhelming data that's sometimes dumped into large language models might be wrong information. It might just be, the lemmings going off the cliff at the same time, just at a massive scale. When you believe what everyone else thinks is true, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're very wrong. And oftentimes, when we outsource our thinking to the herd, we'll get slaughtered. I don't want to be part of the herd because the herd's rushing toward the axe. I don't want to be a part of the gaggle of turkeys that, is that what it's called? A gaggle? Somebody put it in the comments if you know what a group of turkeys is. But I don't want to be a part of the group of turkeys on Thanksgiving morning. So my hope here is in reminding me, motivating me, and hopefully you too, to think, to use that special 4-pound knot of neurons in your head that will always be able to think critically, to second guess or question assumptions. I'm not saying don't use AI, and I'm not even saying don't use AI for financial insights, to explore different categories of thought. I think that's a great way to sort of clear your mind and also gather in, to diverge, you might say. Let's use the diverge and converge idea. When you use AI, oftentimes you'll be diverging your mind, basically cracking open your blinders to think about what's missing. Hey, I have got these for financial accounts, and I'm going to plug those into an AI. Hey, AI, with a person my age, my income, with this amount of debt, this amount of assets, what are some of the risks I should be considering that I haven't thought of? That might be an interesting, great starting point for you to then take in or diverge new ideas and information. And at some point, though, you're going to have to say, all right, setting aside all these things, is it right for me to have that triple leveraged, speculative stock that I may or may not know anything about, but I just read it in my AI results that I should go buy this stock? right? I think that would be just as bad if you listened blindly to your investment advisor doing what he or she tells you to do. Or even worse, listening to some radio host tell you to follow a certain set of baby steps. Just because somebody on the radio, or just because your XYZ investment planner, or just because your AI model tells you to do something doesn't mean you should follow lockstep. You don't want to be a part of the herd. You don't want to be a lemming that just runs off the cliff because your large language model told you to. So this to me is the concern or the risk associated with following with the herd, you might say, the large language model herd. So what can you do instead? One of the biggest things I would say is begin to practice the skill of thinking. Practicing the skill of thinking is something that I feel like is many times forgotten about. It's something that we don't often remember how to do it. The skill of thinking can be one of the best things you do in life. It gives you a sense of reward, and it really puts, I guess, your own skin into your own life, like skin in the game. Well, let's do it in your actual life. How do we give you the skill of thinking? Let me go grab a book really quick. This one, The Road Less Stupid. It's a book written by Keith Cunningham, and I've marked it up a little bit. I'm a big fan of the book, and there are a number of different steps in his thinking time, the discipline of thinking time, that I would suggest check it out and really read this book cover to cover. And I'll see if I can give you find those steps for you here and walk you through them in brief. And then I do recommend you check out the book. Okay, so there are 5 core disciplines of thinking. There is first step: find the unasked question. Learning to think clearly about what is the problem. Usually, we are all faced with symptoms. Oh, I'm gaining too much weight, or oh, I don't have enough money in my bank account, or hey, I've got too much credit card debt, or I always overspend. It would be best if you sit there and ask yourself, well, what is the true underlying core question? And some of the best things you can do is just refining and rewording the question. It's like Abraham Lincoln said, if you're going to cut down a tree, spend the first 3 hours sharpening your axe and only the last 1 hour cutting it down. So the first is find the unasked question. The second step in the 5 core disciplines of thinking in Keith Cunningham's book, The Road Less Stupid, is to separate the problem from the symptom. And again, this is a key discipline. It is a regular discipline to sort of know what the real obstacle is getting in the way. Most of the time we say, well, my pants are too tight. Well, the true problem is you weigh too much. No, that's not it. The true problem is you're shoveling in a bowl full of ice cream after every meal. And why do you do that? Well, the real problem is, dig back another layer. Maybe it's because you're as a child, you were scared you wouldn't have enough food. I don't know. Maybe you'd have to do some of your own due diligence and thinking here. Why is it that I constantly chase after pyramid schemes or scams, or get that high interest credit card when I'm advertised to go get it? And these are some of the symptoms, but the real root problem is buried typically underneath the first layer or two. So asking yourself those questions is key. Third is check assumptions. That's the third action in the thinking time disciplines. Check assumptions. Differentiate the facts from the story that I'm spinning for myself. Whew, that's a good one. Where am I wrong? What am I missing? These are key questions you can ask yourself in your thinking time, which might not include AI. It could include AI, right? You could even use AI to help you with your thinking time. Again, as long as you're not outsourcing those critical thinking skills, but using it hopefully to help you diverge your thoughts. And then as you get closer to the end here, you start to converge your thoughts with your very own heart, your mind, your spirit, to give you true insights, not just reading what's the large language model is forcing upon you. The fourth stage in this great book is consider second order consequences. This is a great one. I think this is one of my favorite ones because most often people choose something because of the first order consequence, but they fail to consider the second order consequence. So, what is a second order consequence? Well, there was a story of the British as they were as they were in India. They were colonizing parts of India, and they noticed all these king cobras in the grass. So these king cobra snakes were obviously very poisonous. So they opened up the opportunity for anybody to bring in a cobra, and they would be paid a certain ransom per snake they were able to deliver to the authorities. So what happened? Well, obviously they started collecting all the cobras, and it worked for a little while. It killed most of the cobras, but after a little while longer, the smart locals figured out, hey, let's just breed king cobras in our cages in our backyards, and let's just keep bringing snakes in. We'll keep collecting the reward, the bounty. Well, the British caught on to this, and they're like, let's kill this program that people are, ripping us off. So they stopped paying the ransom. And of course, the locals decide, well, let's just let loose all these live snakes. What do we need them in our backyards for? So we ended up with more king cobras than we started with. This is a second order consequence. It's a reminder that, anytime the government taxes something, they usually get less of what they expect. And anytime the government subsidizes something, they usually get more than what they expect. So it's a reminder that we need to always be thinking second order and even third order consequences to make sure we're doing the right thing for our own financial lives. What would that mean? What was the application there? Well, again, when you decide to cut back on eating out, yeah, that's going to lower your waistline, but it's also going to hopefully lower your budget too. And you might even have a better experience. You might be able to invest in your backyard patio furniture, for example. These are things that you may not, and that might increase the value of your home, which increases the value of the neighborhood, which, these second and third order consequences you might not realize when you're making the choice to eat out less, for example. The fifth one is create the machine. The fifth and last step in this book for critical thinking outside of AI and large language models is to create the machine, create an executable plan, and identify the resources, which are people and money, that are required to solve the real core problem. So this is a system or a discipline or an action or a program or a repeat process or a workflow that allows you to continually do the thing. If you need to save, 10% of your income this year, but you're only saving 1% right now, maybe you increase your savings rate monthly from now for the next 10 months until you get to 10%. And even better, you could create a machine where you submit an increase of that savings to your bank account. Go ahead and submit the paperwork to do it, or schedule those deposits to happen on an increasing basis, 1% per year for now to the next 10 months. So this is creating a machine, basically a repeating crank that you can just let run on its own. And it does what you want it to do to solve the real problem, whatever that problem is. Like, hey, I'm not saving enough, for example. So again, this MIT research, I think, speaks to I think the busyness and also the imposter syndrome that most people feel. Busyness, we're all very busy, so we'd like to outsource the hard part of thinking. It takes a lot of calories to think, to an AI model. Don't do it, guys. It's a trap. Second, I think we are all, there's an imposter syndrome that, hey, we can't come up with the best ideas, so we might as well ask AI to do it for us. I think we can bypass that by remembering that nobody has ever lived in your skin suit before. You've got the best and only chance to live your perfect, beautiful life. Don't let AI tell you how to do it. Don't let anybody, not me, not some radio guru, nobody. You are your own financial guru. You know exactly what you need for your financial life to be successful. And yes, take insight, take input from others. Let it be part of the divergence of thinking. But then once you're done with that, make sure to converge and decide, why do I believe what I believe? Follow these 5 steps from The Road Less Stupid in Keith Cunningham's book. And by the way, shameless promotion, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you want some more ideas for how to run your business profitably, the best book out there on the topic is The Business Fortress: How to Grow, Protect, and Exit Your Business with Confidence. We just released the book, and we're going to be releasing it officially in August, but this is a pre-release. You guys get the first editions of the book. And David Barnett and I have been great friends for many years. I've been privileged to be on his podcast a number of times. And you can check out some of the key insights that we've learned from our decade plus each, that's several decades combined, on how to run and profitably run your business, and how to do it in a way that creates a fortress that cannot be sieged by markets or banks or competitors and more. So you can get this book at Amazon.com. Leave us a fair review if you'd like. Take a picture of that review and send it to hello@nyafinancialpodcast.com. And we will make sure to send you a ton of goodies and extra credit stuff that we won't be sharing with anybody else. There's so much in this book that has changed the lives of the people I've been able to be privileged to work with in the business owner space. But even if your business is just a dream, or if you're already hitting 7 or 8 figures, this book is for you. So it's called The Business Fortress: How to Grow, Protect, and Exit Your Business with Confidence by David C. Barnett and Mark Willis, CFP. It's been a privilege to get to write that with David. So again, do your thinking, do your research, do your homework. Even feel free to use AI, but then converge on what you believe, taking resources from the books that I mentioned today. Again, that's The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham and The Business Fortress by David Barnett and Mark Willis. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know if you'd like more videos like this or others. If I come across other articles and resources, I'll make sure to let you guys know.